If you're ambitious but always procrastinate, we're going to fix that in this video. Have you ever wondered how you can be so ambitious but yet still procrastinate as much as you do? Even though you've accomplished really amazing things, you've proven that to yourself, when it comes to business, procrastination has become a thorn in your side. It is the thing that is preventing you from succeeding and holding your business back from growing. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you my BOLD method, BOLD. So you shift into the identity of someone who stops waiting, who stops procrastinating, and takes action, even if you don't feel ready and even if you're not clear. Because we have all been conditioned by society to perform. Performing in academics, performing in sports, and performing in our careers. You've learned to win by relying on your intellect, on the discipline of external pressure, and even the structure of whatever organization you are striving in. In other words, you've learned to win by learning more and doing more. But when it comes to business, it is not about what you know, and it's not even about what you do. It is actually about who you are. It is about being more. And when it comes to being more, we have to look at how we do what we do. How are you leading? How are you speaking? And most importantly, how are you handling emotions? And this is where the breakdown starts to begin. And this is where procrastination enters the room. Procrastination is protection against your deepest, and I do mean deepest, insecurities. So, for example, if you are feeling shame, you are feeling shameful that you're not where you want to be, or you're not as far as you thought you would be by now, that shame is going to project through your actions. You are going to speak, but you'll speak timidly. You're going to show up, but you won't show up boldly. You're actually going to hold back on sharing your beliefs, your values, and your perspectives. And when it comes to procrastination, you're going to procrastinate on taking certain actions because you're now worried that you're going to be found out. You're now worried that you're going to be exposed, that the emotion, the feeling that you are trying to cover up and hide from the outside world is going to be found out. And so you procrastinate because you don't want that emotion or feeling to be exposed to other people. And now you don't even want to feel that feeling in your own body. So when it comes to how we actually handle this, you want to start by the B in the BOLD method. Break the loop. You want to actually break the thought pattern and the action pattern of procrastination. So, the first thing you want to do is you want to identify the emotion that you are looking to protect. So, let's say it is shame, for example. That means that you're not going to take any action that is going to make you potentially be exposed to other people. So, if you can be found out in some kind of way, your subconscious mind is already saying, we can't take that action because there is a potential, there is a chance that if you take this action, that shame, that thing that you are attempting to cover up is going to be revealed. So you're now holding yourself back from taking action. Now, you might be wondering, well, I'm ambitious. I'm taking a lot of action. Well, this is also what happens when we start taking comfortable action. We're taking action that we've already tested out because we know if we take this action, it's safe enough that we're not going to be exposed and we're not going to be found out. But this also shows up in your voice. If you have something to say, then your voice is going to be very timid. If you have something to share, you just won't be as bold. You won't actually decide that you're going to put your whole self into the action because there's that part of you that needs to protect. And then once you identify the emotion, then you want to identify, well, what is the actual action that you are holding yourself back from doing? So you've got two columns if you're writing this out. First column is the emotion that you are protecting yourself from. Second column is what is the action that you're preventing yourself from taking. Or what is the action you know you need to take, but you're not taking? And in these two columns, I want you to list things out. You might put things like you feel shameful, you feel like an imposter, you don't feel good enough, you feel like you don't speak well enough, you don't speak clearly enough. And I'm saying that as somebody who grew up with a really terrible stutter. I couldn't even say my own name. That was something that caused me a lot of shame. I had a story in high school where I created in my head that speaking leads to humiliation because when it was time for me to say my name in a small group circle, I stuttered over my own name. And it was like, shit, 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 shit. I couldn't even get my name out. So I created a lot of stories in my mind about how I'm going to be judged for my speaking. And all of those stories carried with me for a long time. But here we are. We have busted through those. So I used to carry some shame around that. And for a long time, I didn't want to speak. But when I did speak, I would still hold back. I would procrastinate on doing the big action and I would only take the small, safe action. So that is how ambitious people actually are ambitious but still procrastinate is because we've already tested the waters. We already know, all right, I can take this action because it doesn't expose me, but I can't take that action. And then we find ourselves creeping our way into taking bigger and bigger action. And this is why you feel like you're circling around the mountain of your business at the exact same level. You've started making money, you started doing things and serving people, you've got your programs, you're selling, but you haven't quite hit a breakthrough. And you keep circling the exact same space, and procrastination is holding you back in this moment because you keep dodging all the emotions, you keep dodging all of the actions. I feel like I've got a dance move going on. You keep dodging all of the emotions and all of the actions that are actually going to get you there because you don't like how it feels. So when you have those two columns, now I want you to pair them. So let's say you're not reaching out to a certain person, reaching out to a certain organization, making the phone call that you need to make. You're not knocking on that business door to promote yourself. You're not doing all of those things. I want you to match the emotion to the action. So that way you very specifically know, ooh, this kind of action causes me more shame, or this kind of action, I feel more like an imposter. There might not be any shame around that, but there's probably more feeling like an imposter or feeling like you're not good enough or like you're not the best speaker. So now you're going to only look for certain opportunities. I want you to pair those off, okay? So that way, when it's time for you to actually take the action, and what I mean by that is you already know when it's time to take an action, you start feeling a little hot. You probably start feeling a bit sweaty because you know something is about to happen and that your body heating up is actually your body being in a space of knowing it needs to protect itself. It needs to stop itself from potentially being exposed. The beauty about this is now that you've identified it and you've shed light on it, you can actually allow it to sit in the room, but it not change how you behave. You've recognized that it's there, but you're not going to say, ooh, I see that emotion. I'm going to still retreat back. You're going to say, I see that emotion. Now you're going to rewrite a new story about who you are because you know what God says about who you are. And you're going to rewrite that story that God is in the room with you. He has called you to do what you're doing, He's fully equipped you. This is a part of your development. And what you're learning to build here is trust with Him and trust with yourself. Oftentimes, we're so consumed with trying to create a result, trying to get something to happen, trying to get the business deal, trying to get someone to buy, trying to get more leads. There's all this effort and attempting in trying to get the result. And I don't even like the word trying. That just gives you the back door to escape. But when you are feeling all of those emotions, you're like, ooh, I'm going to just slide back and not do that. But when you have all of this energy towards the avoidance because you're trying to get this result, you're attempting to get this result, you're more likely to submit to that feeling of procrastination. I want you to shift the narrative, shift the story into what what you are here to learn. I'm here to operate like God sent me. I'm here to operate like God has given me the ability. I'm here to operate like I am mastering the skill right now. I'm here to operate of building trust with Him, building trust with myself. I'm here to operate, insert whatever He's asking you for right now. He might be asking for a level of obedience where you deepen your trust with Him and deepen your trust with yourself without any kind of result needing to happen. This is a preparation. You are developing skill sets. Your perspective and your focus is in the wrong place. So you get to allow whatever feeling or emotion to sit in the room with you and you don't submit to it. Because the moment it changes your behavior, you have made it a master. And the only master we got is the Lord. That's it. We shouldn't be submitting to anything, anyone else. He is the one and only. So if you've got procrastination in the room and you're submitting, now you actually have made an idol of procrastination. You've made an idol of your emotions. And procrastination is just a symptom. It's not even the real issue. The real issue is the insecurity that's inside that it's protecting you from. So you've identified that, you've rewritten the story, and now you get to understand when procrastination enters the room, or I should say, when the emotion enters the room and procrastination wants to follow suit, you get to sit in the room and you get to understand who you are honoring and who you are pleasing. You are pleasing God and we're serving people. When we please God, that means there's no room to please the emotion and procrastinate. There's no room to do any of that because we're only pleasing over here. And that distinction has really shifted me because it's taken away any fear of man that I might have had. It's taken away this thought process of I'm going to be found out. And I'm like, found out about what? I was carrying around shame back in like 2020 more so around some things that I didn't even realize I was feeling shame about, but society had really made me feel a certain kind of way. And I'll just give you an example. Being on video, I used to straighten my hair all of the time. That's how I grew up, just having my hair straight. I used to have a relaxer. My mom had a stroke, and so it was actually very easy for me to get my hair relaxed. It made it easier for me to manage. But I started loving my straight hair so much that when I actually converted into letting my hair grow out and be in its natural state, I carried a lot of shame around that, especially in the work environment. And the only reason why is because people would always make comments. I had an insecurity about how curly my hair was, how tight it was, and I was carrying around a lot of shame. And that really came through in 2020. Because when I started creating a lot more videos, being more vocal, being more open, I was like, ooh, I don't look like how other people look. Other people's hair is straight, other people's hair is longer. And so I didn't want to get on video to do that or to create any kind of video content because I was holding back because of the shame around what I didn't like about my hair. And I transitioned into curly hair um around I was in graduate school, actually. I can't even think, it's been so long, but I was in graduate school. I was in physical therapy school at the time, and I went through a transition because I honestly was just getting tired of having relaxers. My hair was breaking off, but you get the point. It's just something that showed me how I was holding back. And although I was showing up, I was very timid. I was showing up, but still trying to hide. I wasn't very bold about how I was showing up. So just realizing that it might not be an emotion about a fear or a guilt or a doubt or shame or anything like that, that is just emotional. It could be something about your physical appearance that you don't like. So I really want you to think about this, okay? And I want you to realize that we actually have to allow our body to hold tension. This is such a key element when it comes to procrastination because we are attempting to not allow ourselves to feel any emotion, anything that causes that pain or that feeling to stir up. That means we are putting ourselves into comfort by doing procrastination. We are procrastinating to make our body feel comfortable. That means we're not okay with holding tension. We're not okay with pleasing who we need to please and allowing our body to feel discomfort. We can't sit with it. But success happens in tension. Success happens when we can hold a duality, dual emotion, where we are actually knowing who we're pleasing and we're being very obedient to the assignment we're on, yet and still at the same time allowing the feeling of insecurity to sit in our body and us not submit to it. We can't serve two masters. So we're either bowing over here or we're bowing over there. You get to decide. We have to be able to allow ourselves to take action in the discomfort, in the tension of holding that discomfort in our body. We have to be able to do that. Because if we don't, then we're going to keep circling the exact same level of the mountain. I hope you are getting this. It is honestly the most essential thing is how our body is experiencing the emotions that it's experiencing. I often say that success is a sensation because it allows us to feel so many good things, but also so many not so good things, often all at the same time. It's why you can feel sad and be grieving and feel all kinds of ways that maybe aren't the best emotions, but we can feel that way and still create success because we know we're on assignment and we know that those emotions that we're feeling are not the things that control us. So we have to be able to sit in the discomfort for longer periods of time. All right. The O in bold is owning your voice. Now I want you to speak something that breaks the pattern of procrastination. So for me, I used to procrastinate on creating any kind of video because I was so, in the weeds about my hair to the point where I said, you know what? When I have a thought, I'm going to speak that thought immediately. I started to train and condition myself to speak the moment that I actually felt like I couldn't produce anything because I was so in the weeds about it. I didn't like how my hair looked. It wasn't washed yet, or it wasn't, the curls didn't look how I wanted it to, or whatever. And so now I was like, it doesn't matter. I just conditioned myself to show up. I needed to use my voice to break the loop. I needed to use my voice to break the pattern. And the moment I started doing that, I was holding discomfort in my body, holding the tension, which is the wanting to hide, wanting to shrink back. I was holding that tension while being obedient to the assignment, while being obedient to still showing up. And it was the ability to hold that tension and speak through that tension started to break that pattern. And now I'm on video and I don't know the last time I straightened my hair. Oh, I should say last time I straightened my hair was 2016. One of my friends, one of my really dear friends got married and I straightened my hair for her wedding. I was in her wedding party, or in her bridal party. So that was the last time, many, many years ago. So I just conditioned myself. And you use your words to break patterns. You use your words to break the mold. And they're your words as you're showing up online to speak, but they're also God's words. I would recommend looking up scripture verses where you actually get to understand what it is God says. Something is flying. Wow, you guys can tell I do not edit my videos. Um, Look up in actual scripture what God says about the thing you are dealing with and use those words. So for me, a lot of it came from speaking. And so when Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt through God's assignment, Moses was like, "Who, me? I am not an eloquent speaker." And God literally says, "I will teach you what to say. I will show you how to speak." It says that. And so now I remember God is with me. He's going to teach me what to say. He's going to tell me and he's going to show me. And so now I anchor in not only my own words and what I want to say, but I'm like, are these words obedient to him? Okay, so number 3, which is the L in bold, is lead from authority, which I alluded to this a little bit. Lead from authority. God has given you an assignment, which means he's given you authority to develop yourself for that assignment, which means he's giving you the ability to fulfill that assignment. And so, because he's given you this authority, you get to lead from that, not leading from an insecure place. This is why scripture is so important when we start to understand this and we realize that we're showing up on behalf of the one Almighty, the creator of the universe, when we are showing up with that level of authority, then we're not showing up to prove anything, hide anything, get anything. There's nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to gain, nothing to lose because we already have authority. He already is going to flow the people to us that needs to be flown to us, the people that we attract. He already knows who's who. Your job, my job, our job is just to show up. And we get to show up and we get to be of service and develop ourselves because he's with us. We have the ability. So you want to lead from that space like we actually have authority over the thing he's given us authority about. And we know we have actually shown up in that actual authority because we're not trying to prove anything to anybody. We don't need anybody to think anything of us. We're not thinking that we're going to lose something by serving the way that we desire to serve. We're not going to lose anything if someone else succeeds and we're doing our thing and nothing has happened yet. We're not worried about that because we know everyone has a turn. There's timing for everyone's life. Nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to lose, nothing to gain. You're just showing up. You're just being. A baby doesn't have to do anything in order to get love. It does nothing. It just goes to the bathroom, it sleeps, and that's it. But we love babies so much because of the joy that the child brings just from being who they are, just from showing up and like laying in their bassinet. We get to do the same thing. We have to develop ourselves, yes, but we're not doing it from the standpoint of like, I got to get something from the marketplace. It doesn't work that way. We get to lead from the authority he's already given us. And if you're not familiar with the authority that you have, this is why scripture is so important. And I'm referencing this a lot because I can't not talk about it. It's something that has really shifted my life and my business. And so it's allowed procrastination to like, I don't even know how to spell it anymore. I don't feel that same way. And if I feel it wanting to creep in, I automatically go, who am I pleasing? Am I pleasing some emotion I'm attempting to protect? Or am I pleasing creator of the universe? It's like a no-brainer. It kind of like snaps my head back into place. And it should always be like that because the enemy is going to want to try to creep in, but now we need to learn how to lead. Business is about leadership. It's about how you lead yourself. So that way you can lead the people that you're meant to serve. You're leading a mission, a movement, you're leading. And there's no room for you to submit to these mediocre feelings. There's no room for you to submit to anything to anything. There shouldn't be ever. Okay, and then the number 4, the D, is do it anyway because God said so. Do it anyway because God said so. WWJD, what would Jesus do? How would he speak? How would he show up? If you're dealing with a fear-based situation and you can feel that, how would Jesus respond? If you're dealing with feeling like an imposter, how would Jesus respond? What does God say about you in that moment? Because this truly is about leadership. And God said so. So go find in the Bible where God said so, and then come back and go, okay, I'm going to take this action because God said so. What is God's promise? What is God's covenant? God's covenant with the earth is every time we see a rainbow. That's in Genesis. Genesis 13, maybe he talks about that, or 3. I can't remember now. But anyways, in Genesis, it's the covenant. So what does he say about the covenant with us? Go look that up. Whatever it is you're dealing with, find that in the Bible. The Bible says everything about everything. So do it because he said so. And then you have to really understand that when you are obedient to him and the way that he is leading, the way that he's positioning you right now, then you don't need to do anything to try to get a result. The results happen. He creates the actual outcome. The outcome happens because of him, not because of us. We don't do anything to make an outcome happen. When was the last time that you did something and you didn't expect anything to happen, but something did? Or when was the last time you did take an action and you expected something to happen and that thing didn't happen, but then something else happened that looked like it came in from like left field. And you're like, whoa, I didn't even see that coming. One of the things I always tell my clients, which I find so fascinating, and one of the things they report back to me all the time, is most of their sales comes from people they haven't spoken to, comes from things they haven't directly done, or connections they haven't directly created. But the beauty about it is they're in action, they're in motion, they're being so obedient to their assignment that sales will come in, new leads will come in, people will reach out, and it seems like it's out of nowhere. And I had to tell them, we don't want to say it's out of nowhere because it's not out of nowhere. That's how God set it up because we are obedient to developing ourselves. And next thing you know, sales start coming in from a whole different stream that you weren't expecting. And it's all through obedience. So if you're thinking to yourself right now, okay, I procrastinate a lot, but I feel like I'm doing a lot, I would double check how much safe action you're taking, where you're only taking the action that makes you feel comfortable. You're not taking the action that makes any of those emotions feel exposed. I'm not saying you got to go tell your whole story to the whole world. That's not what this is about. It's actually about allowing that to sit in the room and you not submit to it. Simple as that. Allow it to sit in the room and not submit to it. So look at all the safe actions that you're taking and think to yourself, how would I make this action bigger and magnify if I wasn't procrastinating? How can I shorten the time gap from thinking about doing something to the actual execution of it? You shorten the time gap when you realize what you're protecting yourself from, you realize why that's happening, and then you decide within yourself, I'm not going to submit to that feeling because I know what God says about me and I understand the assignment that I'm on. He's given me the ability. My job is to develop myself to do what he's asked me to do, and he'll take care of the rest. So you're attempting to create a result when your only job is to develop yourself. That's it. I think we've had it all mixed up for a long time. And maybe y'all didn't, but I certainly did. I used to try to create results and try to get things to happen because in my other aspects of life, I've been able to create results. In my academic life, in my sports life, I was a competitive figure skater growing up. I was on dance team in college. It's like I was able to do things and create things and produce things. I didn't have the acknowledgement that God was helping me. I did a lot of that on my own intellect, my own strength, but of course He carried me, whether I was aware of it or not. But boy, did I work my face off to even do some of the things I've done, just like I know you have. It doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that hard at all. So, your business does not respond to protection. Your business does not respond to protection. With you taking safe action to procrastinate, it doesn't respond to that. Your business responds to who you are being. Your business responds to how you are leading, to how you're speaking, to how you're handling the emotions that come up, to how you're handling your spiritual maturity and your spiritual intelligence, how you're infusing that in your business because you're infusing it into your life because everything is energy. Everything is spiritual. So as you start to understand this, then it makes procrastination seem dumb. You're like, why am I procrastinating? Why am I prolonging my success? Ask yourself that question. Why am I prolonging my success? Why are you? Asking yourself that question allows you to get real. It allows you to journal and say to yourself, wow, I really am protecting myself. I'm really protecting myself because I'm scared. And you get to be very honest about that. And you get to share that with God, and He'll enter in an entire conversation with you about it. And the moment that you do that, He'll unlock something else. I'm telling you from my own personal experience, He will unlock something else when you go to Him with things because you're acknowledging it. You're not acknowledging it because He needs to know, He already knows. You're acknowledging it because your human flesh, your body, needs to just allow that emotion to sit there and not avoid it and not run away from it. Because business cannot grow with response to protection or avoidance. And that's all procrastination is. You're avoiding that feeling and that sensation in your body. And it's just time to cut all that drama. It is time to cut all that drama. It is time to reclaim who God says you are, reclaim your assignment, step into your authority, activate your God-given voice, use your instrument to serve a whole lot of people, and all these things will be added on to you because you are serving his kingdom first. I trust this video blesses you. Share this with a business bestie. No more procrastination. Use these techniques, and I will see you all in another video. Bye.